Hey folks, how you doing? Chappie here. Coming a little late, but had to get up to the top of this hill here, overlooking beautiful paradise. Prescott. It's good to be here with you today. It's Tuesday, so we're kind of looking again at a little bit of church history and what's going on. We were going through Acts a little bit because that's early church history. And last we were talking, the early church in Jerusalem had been persecuted and had gone into basically left Jerusalem and went about and started preaching in other areas. It spread Christianity out amongst the area, and we know that it began to go south into Egypt from there. It began to go east over into Damascus, and it also went up the coast north towards what is now modern-day Turkey. So here we have this expansion going on. The disciples are getting out. They're going to the synagogues, they're preaching to people, and we have some things develop here that are a little bit different than the pattern that was going on. First of all, in Caesarea, which is kind of northwest of Jerusalem on the coast, there is an encounter there with a centurion, a Roman centurion named Cornelius. And we see that this centurion comes to know the Lord. He is the first Gentile convert into Christianity. And I love this part because of the fact that he was a soldier, and it never says that he gave up doing what he did. He continued to soldier on after that, but he became a Christian. Him and his whole household were baptized and became Christians. So mighty thing there happening. And then they started moving up into what is called Antioch, a very big center of Christianity in the future here, as far as in our story. So they're up in Antioch, and it's in Antioch that the term Christian is first applied to the disciples as they go out. Now, real quick, out to the east in Damascus, we have a situation where a guy named Saul, who had been involved in the stoning of Stephen, he's actually going around persecuting, not just persecuting the followers of Christ, but he's also putting them to death. And as he's going into Damascus, he has an encounter with Christ. And they're on their horses, they're heading towards Damascus, and this Christ appears before Paul. Paul falls off his horse, and basically it's Jesus standing there. And Jesus says, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And leads to Saul, his conversion, later becomes Paul, the apostle, and we're going to find out some good stuff about Paul here. Now, with the Christians in Antioch here, I love this verse from Acts here. Acts 11:26. For a whole year they met with the church and taught a great many people. And in Antioch, the disciples were first called Christians. Folks, that means a lot. We're Christians today, folks. That's the term. That's what they were called. That was their identity from then on out. It becomes the Christian church. And we know that, again, it continues to spread. It's been in existence for 2,000 some odd years here. Rich history, which we've been going into here. And not just rich history, but just the stories that come out, the accounts that come out, the fact that the Great Commission is going forth just as God planned it today. And today, folks, we have to realize we're all a part of this heritage, this legacy, the fact that they receive the identity as Christians. It means a lot. I identify myself, obviously, as a Christian pastor, but I also identify myself as a soldier. I'm a retired Army chaplain, spent 21 years active duty in the Army, and it's part of my identity, it's part of who I am. And that's very important when we go out there into the world, is to understand who we are. First and foremost, when we go out, because we're supposed to be given our Christian witness, is to understand that we are Christians. We are part of this big plan. We're part of what's going on in the church. Each and every day we go out, everybody we encounter, it's important that they know who we are and identify us as Christians. Some may say, well, that could get you in trouble, or that could get you hurt or something. Well, we'll be talking a lot about persecutions coming up. It's bound to happen, folks, if you're shining forth Christ in your life. The word says that, yeah, people won't like you sometimes, and it's just something you have to get through. Now, I want to touch on Paul real quick. Saul changes his name to Paul and becomes one of the most prolific apostles in Acts, in history. Why? Well, he organized a lot of the different churches on the way, planted a lot of churches on the way, and he also wrote the bulk of the New Testament, which is the epistles. And epistles are simply just letters to the various churches out there. In regards to the ones that we find in the Bible, the epistles, Paul was specifically in many of them writing because there was a specific problem he was addressing. And I want to encourage you today, when you do start to read the epistles, look into some of the background of what was going on in those different epistles. And for example, in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, in the church, Paul is addressing things such as damaged relationships, sexual misconduct, abuses in worship. With the Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonian, he's exhorting them to be strong, stand firm in the face of persecution. They were going through a tough time there. For example, in Galatians, he is responding to false doctrine that was coming into the church, trying to re-emphasize the importance of the law over what Jesus has brought us, the new covenant. So Paul addresses that subject in Galatians. So you'll find, and all these things, folks, are things we can live by in the here and now. Just because they were going through those things back 2,000 years ago. Well, I look at the church today and I say, oh yeah, we're going through exactly the same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. And as we're going to see when we study some of the persecutions, when we look at some of the different heresies that were coming out, you can actually take those from way back when and say, oh yeah, I see that here in the now. And thank God that the church is full of 2,000 years of experience to where we know how to deal with these things as they come up. So that's why it's important to hit the epistles, and especially know about Paul and his impact upon the church. Going real quick back, I want to encourage you today. I mean, I entitled this, They Were Called Christians. I think that's really important that identity came out. Because before this, it was just kind of a movement within the Jewish church, the Jewish religion. And we find that as it's going through Caesarea and Antioch, Gentiles are coming to know the faith. So it wasn't just a Jewish thing, it was for the entire world. And that's the importance there of the fact that they were called Christians. That became the identity of the church from then on out. And just like they have the identity back then, so do we this day. We are to go out into all the world, preach the gospel, and show forth what it means to be a Christian, folks. That is very important. If you find yourself, nobody identifies you as a Christian, you better take a step back and say, all right, Lord, nobody knows that I'm a Christian. Well, people need to see it in your lives, folks. People to see it in your faith and what you do on a daily basis and know, oh, something's a little bit different about this person, and I'm having problems. Maybe I should go talk to them. The way they handle life is a lot different than the way I handle life. And see, that may be something that, like I said, draws people to you and allows you to share Christ with them in their lives. It's exciting stuff, folks. It really is exciting. Again, every Tuesday we'll look at a little bit of church history and kind of its impact, not only back then, but on today. And I'd also like to encourage you, as we announced yesterday, that if you guys have questions you want answered on some of these little dailies, send them in to us. Email us, text us, put it down in the comments, and we'll try to address some of those. We'd like to get some, daily, some daily mail from people, and we can have actual viewer mail answered on our little casts here. This is a lot of fun. I hope it's doing some good for you guys, folks. It's definitely good to talk to you on a daily basis, especially with the craziness that's going on. And we're kind of seeing how the Lord's moving our ministry here in Prescott. So it's very good to be with you today. Folks, be good out there and walk like lions.